Hi everyone, welcome to the playthrough for the land in Gallipoli 1915. So first of all we're going to do the setup. I've got the general setup here. The only difference to the main rule setup is the terrain cards are in two banks of three, purely for space. Normally you'd have a row of six going all the way along. What I wanted to just show you is how you set the counters up. So clever little mechanic. For the Australians landing in the boats on turn one, you will drop them onto the table, and the side that they land on determines the state that they will land on the beach. So in this case we've got two counters that are fresh, and we've got two counters that will be spent. This, I believe, is a mechanic to indicate fire as they come in onto the beach, people jumping out of the boats, getting injured, etc, etc, morale states, things like that. The Lieutenant Corporal always lands with his full 3 spirit. We'll come on to spirit in a moment, but you can see that on the counter there. We do the same in advance for the New Zealanders coming in at the noon stage. So we'll do them in advance, and I can see that all 3 of those have landed on the fresh side up, so they will go down here because they will come into play at noon. The Indian artillery is also left out of the game during the first stage of dawn, and that will come in at the noon stage as well. The Ottoman troops, they will be posted onto the terrain cards as appropriate as we go along. So the game is pretty much ready to go. So there'll be 4 Anzac cards, 4 Ottoman cards, and these will be done randomly. So these have been shuffled, 1, 2, 3, 4. The others will stay out of the game for this turn, and then we'll do exactly the same for the Ottomans, 1, 2, 3, 4, and again the rest of those will stay out of the game until the following turn. Okay, so we're pretty much ready to go. The Australians are landing in the boats on the beach, and we'll talk you through the first stage, which is the dawn phase. So as we start on the dawn phase, each round, of which there are 3, dawn, noon and dusk, has 4 phases within it. So the phases are the Anzac phase, the Ottoman phase, the close combat phase, and the journal phase. For the purposes of today we won't be completing the journal phase, but I did cover the benefits of that within my first video. So it will be 3 phases to each turn for the benefit of this playthrough today. Okay, so the dawn phase, Anzac turn. First thing we can do is we are allowed to have a look at our 4 cards. So we've got fear, bayonets, Anzac spirit and fear. Now this isn't a very good draw for a number of reasons. The fear cards basically mean we have to forfeit our turn and we can't do anything. Fortunately, one of the fear cards, once played, will actually be taken out of the game, so we know we won't get that in the subsequent noon and dusk turns. So I think on the basis of that, bayonets is more close combat orientated. We're not doing any of that at the moment. Anzac spirit will be useful when we want to advance or rally, but again at the moment we don't know what we're facing or how many we're going to get ashore, and so I think we need to play one of the fears. So we'll play fear, and that means our turn is already over, so not a good start for the Allies, the Australians, for this turn. Okay, over to the Ottoman turn. We just pick the top card up, and we have got rifle fire. So that would be roll 1 dice plus 1 extra dice per active Ottoman token. The benefit of this is there are no active Ottoman tokens, so we can disregard that as well. And that's the first phase within the overall turn completed, because there's no close combat. So we now go on to the second turn or phase within this turn, and we're now going to look at our cards again. So I think we need to do something now. So let's play Anzac Spirit, and we're going to use this to try and advance as much as we can and get the troops ashore. So for an activation to advance, you will roll a dice, and you would normally minus off any terrain penalty. Now, because we're landing on the beach, there is no terrain penalty. We actually get a +1 anyway, so we roll the dice, d6, we got a 4, that gives us a 5, which means we can advance 5 units onto the beach. Now that's actually quite good, because that allows us to move all the Australian troops, and it also allows us to move the Lance Corporal up there as well. Okay, so continuing with the phase, just to point something out with the rules here, each Anzac phase you can take 3 actions, so you can use your card, my understanding is you can use your card to in effect replace the action, but it would count as an action, and then you will obviously have remaining actions on top of that. So the benefit of this is that I've got 2 more actions. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and rally some of these chaps here. So for a rally action, literally you have to have no Ottoman units on the card, and you roll, if you roll 2 or greater, 1 unnerved counter will rally. If you roll a 6, you can rally again. So let's see what we get. No, we just get 1 rally. So we'll do that, and we'll do the same again for the final action. And typically we get a 6, but we don't need to re-roll because everybody's rallied from that point of view. Okay. Oops, spirit's on 3 there. Okay, so that's the end of the Anzac round. Let's move over to the Ottomans. Okay, we've got artillery fire coming in on the beach, shell fire. So we roll a dice, and on a result of 3+, that will deal a stress. And if we get a 6, we will roll an additional dice. So let's see what we get. And we've missed. So luckily the shell fire was ineffective. We've managed to take cover and avoid that. There's no combat phase, so we're now over to the next Anzac phase. So again, looking at the 2 cards we've got left, bearing in mind at the moment we've got no Ottomans about, I think we will play the second fear card. We can put that to one side because that will now be out of the game, but it does mean we're straight over to the Ottoman phase. Let's see what we've got here. Oh dear, we've got sniper fire coming in as well. So roll a dice, a result of 4 will deal a wound, and a wound in this game from the sniper is equivalent of 2 hits, so it will take a counter out completely, but if the result is a miss, you still will deal a stress to the Lance Corporal. So let's see what we get. And we got a 1, so it's a further stress on the Lance Corporal. He's down to 2. And that's the end of that phase. There's no combat again, so we're now into the final element of Dawn. We have bayonets, and as you can see there, the benefit of bayonets is this is all about close combat, if there's any close combat. So we've got 3 actions, and this can still be used in the combat phase. It's the only card where you get 3 actions plus this is used in the combat phase. So we'll keep that handy, and I think we need to advance. So when we decide as one of our actions to advance or rally that we're going to advance, we turn over the terrain before we roll the dice. So, Gun Ridge. So this has a terrain factor of 3. It's very strong, and we can see the 2 little blocks on the card there. I'll just bring that up to the camera so you can see it a little bit more clearly. There we go. So if you've got 2 blocks on the top here, that indicates 2 Ottoman defenders in that area as well. So we will put 2 of the Ottoman defenders onto the card, and we now need to try and advance. So we roll a d6 and we will -3 off whatever our roll is. So this is a toughie. We got a 5. That's good. We can get two over there. I think we'll send 2 of the troops as opposed to the Lance Corporal, because he's already down to a spirit of 2. I think we'll try another advance, and I don't know if you can see that, but that's a 1, so unfortunately that's nothing. And I think, bearing in mind we've got bayonets in the combat phase, let's see if we can get some more in there. A 6, that's great. So we can get everybody over there, including the Lance Corporal. And that's the end of our phase. So let's now go over to the final Ottoman card. See what we're dealing with here. Oh, that's quite handy. They have a fear card, so again, no effect for them, nothing they can do, but again that card is removed from their deck in subsequent turns. So that's the end of the Ottoman turn. We now go into the close combat phase. So both sides would normally roll a dice for each counter that's in the terrain card, and on a 5+, the counter would inflict a hit on the other side. The most dice that can be used for combat is 3, but we have got bayonets, so that means the Anzacs will roll 3 dice and they will need a 4, 5 or 6 to hit. So let's hope we can get quite lucky here. And we have, I just noticed you can't see that very well, the dice, but I can assure you we have a 5, a 2 and a 1. So we have hit 1 Turkish soldier, and that will be 1 counter removed. And my understanding again on this is that it's simultaneous, so we will need to roll for the 2 Ottomans, but they will need 5s and 6s, and they have a 2 and a 4, so they've missed. So that's 1 Ottoman dead. We'll put him out of the way. But there is 1 Ottoman left, and whilst there's an Ottoman soldier there, we cannot advance. So that is the end of the dawn turn, and already you can see we've got a lot to do to advance to the last terrain card by the end of dusk. Okay, so here we are advancing onto the noon phase, and I think it's pretty evident that we really need to get a shift on this turn to have any chance of winning the game. So let's see, having dealt out the 4 random cards for each side, and now included the Indian artillery in the Anzac deck, but excluded the 2 fear cards that were played in the last turn for each side. So we've got Anzac Spirit, that's useful, Indian artillery, again useful, bayonets, and a fear card again. I think we're just going to have to get cracking here. Let's see if we can play the Indian artillery straight off, try and knock that Ottoman out of the way, and then use the other actions which would allow us to advance. So for the Indian artillery, you roll 1 dice and you'll deal a hit on a 4, 5 or 6. So that could be quite effective when it comes to dislodging enemies, so that you can then advance if you want to. Again, with that action you can repeat that action, and that would count as an additional action each turn, and that's the same with the rifle cards as well. So let's see if we can get a hit first, and we don't. So I think we're going to have to try again once more, and luckily we got a 4, so that has taken that Ottoman soldier off that area. And with the 1 turn left, we are going to try and advance onto the next terrain card. So let's hope we get something a little bit more forgiving. It's still pretty bad. We've got another Ottoman soldier. Again, if you can see that, I don't know if that's Pluge or Plugs Plateau. So we've got 1 Ottoman soldier and a defense factor of 2. So we put an Ottoman counter on the card, and we now get 1 attempt to advance with a -2. And we rolled a 4, so we get two Aussies into the mix. And before I go any further, one thing that I did mean to do was to bring the Auckland Battalion on as well. You'll see the stripes on the beach card here. That shows you where they land in round 2, so they should be on there by now. To be fair, I wouldn't have advanced them at this stage because I needed to get the Australians moving forward, so they will start in that position as extra reserves, but at this stage the focus is on getting the Australians forward as much as possible. So that's the end of the first phase for the Anzacs, and now we go on to the top Ottoman card. Let's see what we got. Rifle fire, so roll 1 dice plus 1 extra dice per active Ottoman token. So we've got 2 dice to roll because we've got an active Ottoman token, and each roll of 4 plus will deal a stress. So let's see what we get. Luckily we got a 1 and a 2, and that's no effect, so that's quite useful. We now have a combat phase, so we're rolling 2 dice for the Australians and 1 dice for the Ottomans. So we'll do the Australians first. We need 5s or 6s. We didn't get either. We got a 4 and a 1, so no effect. And the return attack with 1 dice is a 2, and that's no effect as well. So that's the end of that first part of the noon turn. Okay. Second Anzac phase, again, I think we need to look to maneuver as much as we can. So I think we're going to do Anzac Spirit and try and get the troops up as close as we can from that point of view. So we will play Anzac Spirit, and we'll use that to advance, and we get +1 dice on the advance. So we're going to try and get the New Zealanders up because we've still got to deal with the terrain factor of 3. So we can add +1 to the d6. Luckily we rolled a 6. That's superb. That gives us a 7. -3 is 4. We can get all the New Zealanders onto Gunridge, which is great. Okay, so we've got 2 actions left. And we'll try and get the Australians and the Lance Corporal forward. A 6 is 4, so we can bring up 4 units. Okay, so we've got the 4 units moved up. I haven't been able to ascertain if there is a maximum number of Anzac Australian New Zealand counters on one terrain tile, but I know as long as that they can't go or advance until an Ottoman one is destroyed. So I think that's okay. So that's good. That's two lots of activations. I can't actually do anything else now unless I want to move the ones up behind. I think we could probably have a go at that as well, to be honest. So let's see if we can get those last 2 up, or we can get one of them because we rolled a 3. So we're really going to push here as much as we can, and let's move on to the Ottoman turn. Rifle fire again, so we're going to get 2 dice, 1 + 1 for the card, and 4, 5 or 6 will be a hit. And we've got 2 1s, so again, just so you can see those, no effect, so that's good again from our point of view. Okay, let's do close combat. 3 dice for the Anzacs. They need 5s or 6s. Yep, that's killed that last Ottoman. Let's just see if he gets a kill before he disappears. He doesn't, so again, good news for the Allies. Okay, so we're on to the next phase, and we know that we've got a fear card. I think we're going to play it now whilst there's no Ottomans around. So the fear card gets played. That's the end of our turn. Over to the Ottomans. Let's see what they've got. Oh, sniper fire. So we know that's quite nasty. 4+ will deal a wound. If there is a miss, it will be a stress on the Lance Corporal. A 4 is a wound, so that's one of our soldiers killed, unfortunately. So the Ottomans take their first blood from that point of view. So no melees, and then we're straight on to the last turn for the Anzacs. We have bayonets, so we'll keep that ready for the combat phase, and we want to try and advance. Let's see what terrain card we've got this time. Battleship Hill, we've got 1 Ottoman counter on there and a defence factor of 2, so let's try and use our 3 turns to get advancing in there. That's great. We've got 2, so we'll put the New Zealanders in, put some fresh troops in there. I think the Australians must be getting very tired by now. And we've rolled, that one's just hidden down underneath in the dice tower. That was a 4 as well, so we've got 2 more. Let's get 2 more in there, and let's see if we can get some more in there as well. 2 is nothing, so that's not very good at all. Okay, so let's see what the Ottomans have got on their last card. Oh, they've got bayonets as well, so looks like we're going to have a quite hefty close combat turn this turn. We've got 1 Ottoman, so let's roll for him first. He gets a 5, so he's killed one. Well, he's not killed one, he's we're able to, it's a hit, so we're able to flip one of our counters to spent, and we get 3 dice in return, and we've rolled a 6, so we've been able to destroy that Ottoman soldier as well. So that's the end of the noon phase, and we're now on to the final phase, which is dusk. Okay, so we're on to the dusk phase, and again things are not looking great for the Anzac forces. We're about halfway across with 1 long phase to go, but we've got 3 terrain tiles, and we still haven't obviously hit the Turkish sergeant yet on the last card. However, we have destroyed a number of Ottoman counters, and there are only 3 left in reserve at the moment, so we may be able to advance quite quickly if we get the right card. So let's see what we've got. We've randomly done the 4 cards again. Let's see what we've got in the oh, we've got fear again. That's not good. Indian artillery could be useful. Anzac spirit, very much so. Bayonets, useful. So a mixed bag, but I think we need to go for Anzac spirit. We need to advance as quickly as we can from that point of view. So let's see what the next terrain card holds in store for us. Oh, baby 700. So a defense factor of 2, and you can see the 1 little square, so we do have an Ottoman soldier there. Let's see if we can advance. We get a +1 because it's Anzac spirit. We rolled a 6, that's a 7, -2 is a 5, so we were able to get all 4 units through onto that card. Now that's quite useful, but of course we can't advance them anymore at the moment, so I think what we need to do is try and get our reserves up, maybe even do a rally, but we'll see. Let's try and get the Australians moving up if we can. So they're moving on to Battleship Hill, -2. Oh, we rolled a 2, disastrous. I think we'll try that one again for the final action. We've got a 6, so they advance onto Battleship Hill. Okay, let's see what the Ottomans have got. Rifle fire again, so it's going to be 1 dice +1 because of the extra Ottoman counter, and they need a 4+, which will deal 1 stress, and they've missed with both, a 1 and a 2, so fortune favours the brave. We got away with that one a little bit, I feel. Close combat, we've got 3 dice for the Anzacs, 1 for the Ottoman. Let's see if we can take that Ottoman soldier out. We've got a 2, a 3 and a 4. So no, nothing, he's still there. That's not good at all. And the Ottoman reply is a wound, so I think we'll take off the spent Australian there. He's now dead, but at least we haven't got to waste an action rallying him in subsequent turns. But yeah, it's not looking very good at all for the Anzacs at the moment at the end of that phase. Okay, let's have a look and see what cards we've got left. I think we need to use the Indian artillery to try and dislodge him So we need a 4, 5 or 6, and we've missed. That's not good at all. I think we're going to have to try again, because we really do need to get our men moving forward. And we've got a 4. We've taken him out, so that's good. And we've got 1 action left, so obviously we're going to try and advance as quickly as we can into the next terrain piece. And that's much better. We've got Shrapnel Gully, and you'll note on this one it's a defence of 1, but there are no enemies in there at all. So what we can do with a good dice roll here, we could potentially get our troops into there. And we rolled a 5, so we've been able to advance all 3 of those into that area. And we know we're pretty safe in there in terms of enemies. So let's have a look and see what the Ottomans have got. Oh, sniper fire. So let's see what the result is of that. A 5 is a wound, so he's shot one out again. So let's take the Australian off. That's a dead soldier. Very nasty, that sniper. He's been very effective in this game. There's no close combat, so that is the end of that phase. Okay, 2 phases left, and we know we've got the fear card, unfortunately, but we do have bayonets, and that could come in very, very useful in the last turn if we're very, very lucky. So I think we're going to have to play the fear card, which puts us straight over to the Ottoman phase. Let's hope for nothing too painful here. Oh, shell fire. So roll a dice, a result of 3+ will deal a stress, which will be the Lance Corporal, and a roll of 6, roll 1 additional dice. Now, I'm not sure within the rules, I'll have to look this up, whether the Lance Corporal can take the stress because he's not at the front, or whether that would result in a hit on the New Zealanders. I believe it probably will result in a hit on the New Zealanders, but let's work on that basis. Let's see what we get. We get a 6. Now that's disastrous because that's a hit. And we have to roll again. Oh, we've got another 6. Oh my word. That's 2 hits. 3 hits from very, very accurate Ottoman shellfire. And so that's 1 counter dead and 1 turned. And we're in all sorts of trouble now. That really could have been a deciding factor in the game. Can't believe I rolled 2 6s. Anyone who knows me well knows I normally roll 1s. So that's the end of that phase. Let's see what the last phase of the game can bring. Okay, so we know we've held bayonets in reserve. This will be for close combat. We've got 3 actions. Now, with the best will in the world, he is out of the game because we can't advance him quick enough. With 2 actions, we potentially could only get these guys into here. So we're really dealing with 1 guy who's already in trouble moving into this terrain piece. But I think that's what we're going to have to try and do. So let's try and advance. Russell's Top is another Ottoman counter. The sergeant will go in there, but because there are reserve Ottoman counters, they also will come onto the card. So there are 3 Ottoman counters on that final card. And of course, the Ottoman sergeant would be able to soak up 3 hits potentially there. So I think it's safe to say we cannot win the game. But let's see how we go. So let's see if we can advance. We can. So the New Zealanders get in there. I think it would be sensible, if nothing else, to try and rally him. But again, we can't rally because we're in a square with Ottoman units. So let's just try and advance the Lance Corporal and the other Australians. We rolled a 2, so that would have been nothing. And final one, try again. We rolled a 5. So yes, these chaps managed to get themselves into baby 700. And let's see what the Ottomans can do. And bayonets, so as if to rub salt in the wound. They're going to get a benefit in combat like we are. Doesn't bode well for the lone New Zealander who's made it to Russell's Top. But let's see how he goes. So he needs a 4, 5 or 6. And he gets a 6, so he manages to kill an Ottoman. And the Ottomans reply with 3 dice because it's simultaneous, and they also need 4s, 5s or 6s. And well, brutal. Safe to say that the poor New Zealander there has unfortunately received the bayonet, and that is the end of the game with a decisive victory for the Ottomans. You can see it's a very, very tough game, very difficult decisions to be made as you go through the game. So you have to get a balance between advancing, rallying, logistical, using the cards. The fear cards are a real killer in this because they basically stop you doing anything. And of course, if the Ottoman gets the run of the dice with the shell fire and the sniper fire, that can be absolutely brutal. But what it does do is it just shows you in a very light war game what a difficult job these brave men had on both sides in this peninsula in 1915. Hope you've enjoyed the video and look forward to seeing you again soon.